but Chidi created a presentation to explain why they shouldn't get divorced. Somehow this works, and this makes Chidi determined to find the exact right answer to everything for the rest of his life. He actually announces this to his childhood friend Uzo, who says, "I know you're really smart, but that sounds wrong. You are correct, Uzo." Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be doing the next episode of The Good Place. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, I'm going to give you a little agenda here. We start with the potent notables, which are just a couple interesting facts or tidbits that I found out about the episode or series. Then I do the episode overview, which is as described. I talk about the episode, and then I do the rank, where I rank the episode in 5 categories on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. I'll find out what's the best sitcom of all time. Now, today we're ranking the 9th episode of the 4th season of The Good Place, titled The Answer. Written by Daniel Schofield and directed by Valeria Miliasi Collins. For the sitcoms that have already been on for a long time, there are going to be spoilers. If you want to watch this on Prime Video, do so. Otherwise, spoilers ahead. But let's find out how this one stacks up, starting with the potent notables.
Potent notables.
So this episode aired Thursday, November 21st, 2019. Thankfully, The Good Place actually stayed above 2 million this week, instead of the yo-yo we've been experiencing. It got 2.045 million viewers, which is only 17,000 less than last week. It also beat its lead-in Perfect Harmony, though not any other of NBC's Thursday lineup. As for competition, it beat Legacies on the CW, of course, which had 861,000 viewers, lost to everything else, including Million Little Things on ABC, which had 4.586 million viewers, Mom on CBS, which had 6.06 million viewers, and the NFL Thursday Night Juggernaut on Fox, which had a somewhat low for its standards 12.920 million viewers. Now, I had bet that the game wasn't a good one based on those numbers, but it actually was. The Texans beat the Colts 20-17, and it was 2 teams that had winning records at the time. Go figure. All right, so our second and last potent notable is just a little one. Jianyu Li, the name Jason assumes when he is forced to pose as a Buddhist monk, is Mandarin Chinese for in jail. I don't know. It took me 4 seasons to buy that one, I guess. I don't know, but it's a cool one. All right, so let's go to the episode overview. We open our episode right where we left off, as we often do in The Good Place. Michael's agreed to give Chidi his memories back, and to do so, he's got to snap his fingers in super slow-mo. I can't do a slow-mo snap. And so, because of this super slow-mo, the audience is led to believe that we're seeing the story of Chidi's entire life, and then the story of his and Eleanor's love in the same amount of time it takes Michael to snap said fingers. And with that, we dive into Chidi's birth. Right away, we get a cute joke about choosing his name, where the parents decide on Chidi and then ask baby Chidi if he likes that name or if he'd like another. Then baby Chidi starts crying and the mom says, "Oh, look, he has a tummy ache." That's good stuff. What we're treated to during Chidi's first life is everything that leads to his indecisiveness. And, of course, it all stems from his parents. You see, they were headed for divorce, but Chidi created a presentation to explain why they shouldn't get divorced. Somehow this works, and this makes Chidi determined to find the exact right answer to everything for the rest of his life. He actually announces this to his childhood friend Uzo, who says, "I know you're really smart, but that sounds wrong. You are correct, Uzo." So this need to find the right answer is what leads him to philosophy, though he's easily made to question himself when his girlfriend says that theoretical physics asks more important questions than philosophy. She said that when meeting his parents, and then breaks up with Chidi right after his parents leave, which feels kind of like, why didn't you just do that before meeting the parents? Either way, it looks like Chidi could have saved that relationship if he had just gone and banged her in that moment. But no, he tries to talk about Kant instead. I can certainly relate to being immobilized by indecision, but when my significant other wants to bang, I'm almost always going to find a way to make it happen. Of course, that could explain why I have a ton of kids.
Yeah, I can be...
Anyway, from his girlfriend to his thousands of pages long book, which, by the way, almost took his professor's will to live to read it. There's a good bit in this part that references earlier episodes in the series when he's wearing those pink or red cowboy boots. I enjoyed that, but basically, we're up to the point where he dies the first time, and now he gets to have the memories of his many afterlives, in which, in almost all of them, he falls in love with Ellen. Then back to life, where he falls in love with Eleanor again, but sacrifices that love to help save humanity. We find out that he wrote a note and gave it to Janet before having his memory wiped, and while this is really sweet, it's also kind of lame. I don't know, let's just have the memory of his realization. Or like, maybe Janet could have asked, "Do you want your note back?" And he says no, and Eleanor says, "What note?" And he says, "I don't need to be reminded that there isn't an answer, but that you are mine," or something like that. guy. I mean, I don't purport to be a good writer, but that's what happens. He wakes up and is informed that he has to solve the crisis of saving humanity, really all existence for all life on Earth, and this is where we end it. Will the answer get a high score on the rank? Let's find out.
A rank.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then I have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times the episode made me laugh out loud. 1 point per laugh out loud gets added to the score. But before I dive in, I just want to say if you're enjoying this episode, please leave a like down below. It really does help us out. But without further ado, the first category is story, which I gave a 5. So at first glance, this is the story of Chidi's life. What he was like, what made him make the choices that he made, everything that leads up to the very moment, everything that gets him to the realization that the one thing that matters most to him is that he loves Eleanor. So really, it's the story of his and Eleanor's connection told from his perspective. Most of what we've seen has been through Eleanor's eyes for the most part, so this makes it different and touching. So let's go to acting, which I give a 5. I continue to love the acting on this show. It's just fantastic. I don't really know what else to say. So let's go to dialogue, which I give a 3.75. As touching as a lot of this is, it's really not very funny. I was happy to watch Chidi become the man he ends up becoming and watch him and Eleanor fall in love from his perspective, but it would have been nice to have some levity also. So let's go to episode coherence, which I gave a 4.75. I mean, there's no denying that the episode cohered. It was essentially the story of one guy's life, and as long as you do it linearly and don't veer off of the path of what we've already seen, then you've made a coherent episode. They did that. The only thing that I thought was a little too cheesy was the note thing at the end. Now, it got me teared up like it should, but it's also silly that you would want to look at it in that moment. Maybe that's just me. So let's go to character relatability, which I gave a 4.5. I mean, you can empathize with Chidi throughout his journey, but also it's such a quick run through that it feels a little too distant to touch, you know, if that makes sense. Still though, the underlying theme of Chidi and Eleanor's connection is good enough for me. All right, so that gets us to the laugh counter. So it's got some pretty good ratings here in these categories, so that means it doesn't need too much of a laugh counter to keep it in the top 3 tiers, and it's a good thing it had the good ratings because I did not get a good laugh counter. It only got me 8 times. So this puts the episode total at a 31, which means it's just barely in. I'd watch it again. This puts the series average at a 37.8, which is in the holy grail. And if you're ranking along with me, drop your score for this one in the comments. So thanks for listening and or watching. Join us next Thursday for the next episode of The Good Place, Season 4, Episode 10. You've changed, man. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can do that on our website at therankpodcast.com. Now, for those of you who've been watching for a while and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and or follow if you're enjoying it. For anybody else out there, you can comment or shoot me an email at info@therankpodcast.com with questions, comments, or suggestions, and I will reply to you if you want me to. Please also consider becoming a patron on the Patreon page at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. But I will leave you with this. Why did Eleanor and Chidi break up in the afterlife?
Why is that?
Because Eleanor was sick of being the answer to every question. I mean, imagine every time a question is asked, he just says, Eleanor, how's it going? Eleanor, do Eleanor.
I think we get it.
Written by Daniel Schofield and directed by Valeria Milasia Collins.
Who?
Mijalassi? No. Okay.
Cut!
Miliasi, that's what